Hello, folks. Welcome to the United Regional Chambers weekly update. A little bit of a different setting today, but I am very pleased to introduce you to a gentleman that I've known for many, many years. He's a former board member of the Chamber of Commerce, very, very involved in our communities. His name is Ed Drozda, and Ed is the small business doctor, and he owns E&D Associates. But in his other life, he is also a professor at Bryant University. And we're going to learn about a program today that has been very successful for Ed and the students there at Bryant University, as well as the many members and businesses in the area that have taken advantage of this. So, Ed Drozda, welcome to the show.
Jack, thank you very much. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, as always. So, tell us a little bit about Ed before we get into the program.
Well, Jack, thank you for that. So as you say, I'm the small business doctor. I work with small businesses, actually three different kinds of people, folks that are contemplating starting a small business, those that are new in small business, and finally those that are in a mature business with unresolved challenges. Each of them have their own unique needs. And my role is to facilitate their growth and development, to get them to where they want to be, to get them through the things that are holding them back, and all around to improve their probability of success and open up their opportunity.
Well, awesome. And I know in part of your life, you're an adjunct professor at Bryant University. You've been doing that for how long?
I've been a professor at Bryant University for 5 years. I'm in an adjunct role in the School of Management, the College of Business. And it's been a great experience. It really has been. I love it.
Well, you've done an awesome job with this program. So let's talk about this a little bit, okay? This is your service learning project to some of the students that are in their second and third year, but please tell us all about it.
Okay, so what Bryant University has elected to give the management students, introductory management students, an opportunity to work in a service learning environment. Typically, or in the past, what we had done, we'd worked with strictly nonprofits, and we have moved on from nonprofits to for-profit, nonprofit, and for-profit businesses. Basically what happens is we have teams of 5 to 6 students who are working together. They're doing one thing that they're doing is they're developing a high-performing team. They're working together, going through all the machinations of forming a team, developing a strong team, and then they're taking that team environment and they're working with a sponsoring business. And they don't have to be local, they could be anywhere in the country for that matter, or anywhere in the world. And what they're doing is they're taking on a project that the sponsor considers important to themselves. Let's take, for example, the case of I'll use the example of water fire in Providence. Water fire has been a frequent contributor or sponsoring agency for our students. And they were developing new programs in light of various types of milestones in their development, the development of water fire. And they invited teams to work with them to see if they could come up with some new and creative ideas, outreach for the younger generation, because we all know that water fire in Providence is a very successful program, but getting a younger audience was a big deal to them. And so this is something that the students engaged in, for example.
Well, and they've done a tremendous job down there at Waterfire. I know that all of us have gone down there and enjoyed that at some point.
Right.
And it just shows, some of the value that these kids have. Well, tell us what is involved with a sponsor? What do they have to do with these young folks?
Yeah, the role of the sponsor is this. So what I'm seeking at this time are interested parties, sponsors who would like to participate in the program. What they would do is they would submit an overview of what kind of project they would like for the students to engage in. The students and the sponsor would engage in for lack of a better word, I guess you could say an interview process to see if they'd be a good fit for each other. And at that time, there would be an opportunity also to discuss, perhaps little modifications to the proposed project that would fit within the scheme of the semester-long project. As far as the sponsors are concerned, generally speaking, I've been told by past sponsors, it's about maybe 1 to 2 hours every 2 weeks. It's not a labor-intensive thing. Once they're up and running, these teams are self-motivating. naturally they have to check in, they have to touch base with the sponsors. There has to be an accountability to the sponsors, but the sponsors themselves are really in a position of being overseers, but not deeply engaged on a day-to-day basis. So it's a relatively low time investment with a tremendously potential large win for the sponsoring agency.
And is there costs involved to a sponsor agency?
Absolutely not. There's no cost at all. I guess you could look at these folks as being, for lack of a better term, unpaid interns. But keep this in mind. They are not being paid. There is no cost at all for any sponsoring agency to come in. But here's the thing. Not only do you get something out of this as a sponsor, something, you can achieve a goal, you can bring a project to fruition, or at the very least, you can get something started that you didn't have time to get to before. But you're also enabling these students to have a tremendous growth and learning opportunity. So the ideal sponsor is one that not only has a need of their own, but has a desire to contribute to our future leaders and managers.
Well, I know one of the challenges that a lot of the companies have, and it was the same thing that you just discussed with Waterfire. How do they get the younger folks, the younger adults, the younger generation, involved in their business, involved in their projects, and involved in their nonprofits? And this is the perfect age group to help them do that. Can you give us another example besides Waterfire?
Yes, so they've worked with a number of other types of nonprofit agencies. Here in Attleboro, I'm having a momentary lapse of memory here, Jack. I hope you can help me out. This is a group that services our mental health patients. Oh, Jack, please help me out.
The ARC of Northern Bristol County.
Thank you. I'm so sorry for that, but I had a complete blank. The ARC, this is going back a couple of years now. The ARC was trying to develop some new programs and to try to get some outside sponsorship to come in and support them. And they were kind of stumbling with this project. As big as they were still stumbling with this particular piece. And so the students came in with some interesting ideas, sat down with the ARC board and the ARC local ED, and were able to come up with plans and ideas that could support them in their growth and development. Honestly, it runs the gamut. Their projects are not industry centered. They could be any industry, any business whatsoever. There's no requirement for the particular kind of business. It's merely a case of a sponsor having a desire to support the growth of these students and a need to be able to fulfill insofar as project work is concerned.
Well, and then one of the things that you mentioned already, this is a tremendous asset to these students themselves. They actually get face-to-face, or right now Zoom to Zoom meeting with actual business who are in the trenches every single day. There's one thing with book learning, and then there's one thing with being in those trenches every day. And this gives these kids, and I hate to say kids, young adults, the opportunity to meet and talk with all different types of businesses and all different types of personalities, actually, because that's what we all deal with in business today.
And Jack, of course, this is something near and dear to the Chamber's heart. Local community support, advancement of networking, growth and development. I mean, these things are all a part of this. And for these folks, and I know I sometimes call them kids too, only because it's relative to my own age. It really is a tremendous opportunity for them. And what's more inspiring is that given this opportunity, these kids come up with some really, really creative ideas that people sometimes are kind of shocked about. They're like, really? This is coming out of 18, 19-year-olds? How'd that happen? Well, given the opportunity, this is exactly what's out here for us. And so it really is a win-win situation all around.
Yeah, I am part of the TDI committee in Attleboro trying to redevelop the downtown, and we worked with a similar group out of Northeastern University, and they came up with some things that we would have never thought of. It would have never even crossed our minds. And maybe it's our age set or what it might be, but they get some really refreshing new ideas, and we put some of them into practice, and they've been very successful so far.
And I think it's important to note too, I often remind my students, it's not about the endpoint, it's about the journey. So naturally, they aspire to bring their projects to completion, to fruition. That's not always possible in the course of a semester. But at the very least, they leave the sponsoring agency with a step well above where they started. And they do impart their own unique perspective. And in fact, it's the perspective of 5 or 6 different people of a different generation than us. It really is amazing how it can work out, Jack.
What is the time span on when they're working on one of these projects?
So the first day of classes this semester is the 28th of January. And the teams on that day, my course sections will be allowed to get together and try to identify who they want to work with as teams. The following week, they'll be expected to start reaching out to potential sponsors about what kind of projects they want to do. And then thereafter, they'll be working with their sponsors through roughly the very last week in April.
So that gives them quite a bit of time, actually, to come up with different things, work out the bugs, so to speak,
Yep.
In each of the ideas that they have, and to some type of agreement with the sponsoring agency on how the sponsoring agency can move forward and help these students as well.
Jack, I'm sorry, there's a little pause in the dialogue there. Can you please repeat that?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a great time span where the kids can get an actual feel for the company. They get to know the people in the company, and they can help these organizations, take that first step, even if it's not to completion, but at least get them started. Because a lot of us, we got a ton of ideas, but actually getting it going sometimes is a little tough. Where these guys and girls have the motivation to help us do exactly that.
Right. And, sometimes, every situation is unique, Jack, as you know, and I know. Sometimes it works out brilliantly, sometimes not so brilliantly. That's part of life. But on some occasions, it's actually led to internships and ultimately to jobs when these folks have graduated from school. So, it really is amazing the things that can evolve. There's one of the things that I'm doing from the very first day of class is promoting this team development. So the sponsors are getting a team. Granted, it's a team in development, but these folks are fully engaged in the concept of being a team. So the sponsor is getting a cohesive unit here, a cohesive group of people that do have the potential to make some substantial difference for them.
Now, are these programs, do they affect their grades?
Yes, I like not to talk about grades, but of course my students do. The project is worth 30% of this grade. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yes, it is. And now you need to understand there are many parts to this project that are not visible to the sponsors, such as the fact that they have to create a team contract. They have to create a project plan, which is based upon the sponsors' impetus, the sponsors' input. But there are many things that are being done behind the scenes as part of this project that aren't directly under the purview or perhaps the direct knowledge of the sponsor. But 30% of their grade will be attributed to this project. And the biggest thing, of course, is I like to remind them, if you're engaged, if you're in there working as a team, doing your best, like I said, it's not about the end point, it's the journey. If you're putting it in and your sponsor recognizes that, you will earn the grade because you put in the work.
Well, Ed, this is a great program. You know that we'll help promote it with the chamber. This video will be shown, numerous times by AACS. I want to thank you for coming on today and giving everybody this opportunity. I also want to shout out to Dave Angel and the folks at AACS who sponsor us every week, and we really appreciate all the work that they do for us. But Ed Drozda, the small business doctor, thank you very much for coming on the show this week.
Jack, thank you so much. David, thank you for the support back there. Guys, chamber, roll on. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a great day, everybody.